choice. Dooku said he'd kill me if I didn't help him kidnap Jabba's son. You have to believe me.
Ziro the Hutt was not a minor character. He appeared in the Clone Wars movie and TV show. He was Jabba's uncle and was actually responsible for the kidnapping of Jabba's son, Rota. Given that and his very distinctive appearance, his flamboyant demeanor, all of his tattoos and jewelry and so forth, you'd think he would make an excellent figure and that they would have wasted no time creating a lot of Ziro the Hutt merchandise. But is that actually the case? Let's take a look. I decided to go through all of my entire collection and get all of the officially licensed stuff for Ziro the Hutt that I could find. What we have here on screen, obviously, is not Ziro. This is Jabba. This is the Jabba the Hutt Fighter Pods figure that was released in, I believe, 2012, so about 10 years ago. And these fighter pods are kind of like Squinkies, I guess, were another popular line of these little rubber figures. They're cute, made of sort of semi-hard rubber, but with a little bit of give to it. They've got these little holes in the bottom, so I guess you could put them on a little stand or something. The reason I'm showing you the Jabba figure is that they did make a Ziro figure, but he's actually just a repaint of the Jabba figure. Although, you know, to be honest with you, I don't think that's much of a criticism because they did a really good job on this repaint. He is totally transformed. He has all of his little, you know, tattoos and jewelry and whatnot. And he doesn't really look that much like Jabba anymore, so I don't really have a problem with this. This Ziro figure, by the way, was part of a Target exclusive box set, but I got it individually on eBay back in the day. Moving right along, we have a similar situation. This is a Star Wars Marb, which is a marble, plastic marble actually, that was kind of released as a collectible series back in 2010. They had a bunch of Clone Wars characters, including, of course, Jabba. And, you know, these are actually kind of cool little things. You've got some sparkliness there in the back that you can see. And the idea was that you'd collect all of the different characters that you liked, and it came with a little stand so they wouldn't roll all around. You can see it says Star Wars Clone Wars, Jabba the Hutt. And just like with the other one, we have essentially, I don't know if I'd call this a repaint, but, you know, it's a redo of this same concept using Ziro. This one was a chase figure, as I recall, so that, you know, you kind of had to get lucky to get the Ziro version. But there he is, Ziro the Hutt. A little hard to see with all the reflections. And similar thing on the back there. It says Series 112. This is Series 19. So I think that's the number. Series 1, and then this is number 12. I'm not sure that they actually went beyond Series 1. I don't recall. But yeah, this is an official Ziro the Hutt piece of merchandise. And with that, we've just seen literally everything that has been released for Ziro the Hutt, believe it or not. I'm not counting things like trading cards and stuff like that, but basically, this is all that I could find, which is shocking, actually. As I said, for Star Wars being what it is, you'd think that they would have at least some sort of Hasbro action figure, but no. And that means that it's been up to customizers to sort of pick up the slack and make some Ziro merchandise. So that's what I would like to show you for the rest of the video. This is an enamel pin from Nerd Matters. It's called the Uncle Gangster pin, but it's obviously Ziro the Hutt in pin form. And they did a fantastic job with this. I'm really happy with this pin. I showed this off in a collection pickups video a while back, but yeah, it's definitely worth bringing up again. I don't know if these are available anymore, but I'll put a link to the Nerd Matters site in any case. This is the Clone Wars Jabba the Hutt figure that was released in 2009 in the Clone Wars Jabba the Hutt Battle Pack, I believe it was called. Came with a railing and hookah and an interpreter droid. This one, I actually really like this figure. It's nicely stylized to match the sort of computer graphics from the Clone Wars movie. And, you know, you can turn him around. He's got some articulation. He's got the same problem as the vintage Jabba in the sense that his arm keeps falling off, at least mine does, but you can move his arm to move his mouth like that, which is, I think, a cool feature that they've also used on later stuff like the 6-inch Black Series Jabba. This actually works for both arms, theoretically, but, you know, I usually just kind of just move it like that. But one thing you may notice here is that he's got a rubber skin over his entire torso here. Now there goes his arm again. And that allows him to have a seamless mouth there. So like you can see, it looks like he's actually opening and closing, and there's no cut here where the mouth, you know, joins the body. I think that's a cool feature, and thankfully this figure has avoided the curse that a lot of Hasbro Star Wars stuff that had, you know, soft rubber in it has suffered from, which is to be like tacky and kind of gross feeling after a while. This seems fine. I don't know, maybe it's just mine. I'm not sure if other people have had problems with it or not, but pretty good figure. The reason I'm showing you this, though, is that a lot of people have been using this one as the basis for Ziro the Hutt customs. I don't actually have any based on that. I've never made one myself, mainly because I was a little worried about this rubber. It's difficult to paint this if you try to use standard acrylic paints. I'm pretty sure that it's going to kind of crack and look bad, so I've never really gone as far as to try and make my own custom. But one of my patrons, Ryan, did actually commission someone to do that not too long ago. He shared photos with me and said he would be happy for me to show them to you, so here they are. I think this is a pretty impressive version of Ziro, and it just goes to show that I think Hasbro probably could have converted this into a Ziro figure without that much trouble, and it's a bit of a shame to think that they never did it. Of course, you know, if it had been Hasbro doing it, they could have colored the rubber and plastic and so forth appropriately, made it purple or whatever, and, you know, all they had to do was add some jewelry and boom, you've got your figure. Although all the tattoos and everything would be maybe a lot of trouble, I don't know. But when you consider that they were able to make this at this size with this intricacy of tattoos, you'd think they could handle it on a larger action figure. Moving right along, the first Ziro custom that I have in my collection is actually kind of a weird one. This is a resin figure that someone, I guess, was selling on eBay years and years ago. I never ended up doing anything with it or painting it because, honestly, it was worse quality than I had expected. And, I don't know, it's pretty crude, if I'm honest. I don't want to be rude because, you know, at least somebody took the time to sculpt this and everything, but I don't think, even with a really good paint job, this is going to look fantastic. It's also pretty rough on the bottom there. You can see it's a rough casting made out of some kind of a white resin, but it's also got all kinds of bubbles here on the underside where these, you know, it would have been in the mold like this, and just all kinds of bubbles. And well, you could fix that. It just seemed like it wasn't worth the trouble. So I never did anything with this, but still kind of interesting to see. Next up, we have something I picked up just very recently, and kind of an interesting story behind this. It was listed on eBay in a lot together with the Felugian Battle Rancor, which is the kind of repainted and almost tattooed looking, you know, war painted Rancor figure, which I never actually had. And they just said, you know, this is Jabba the Hutt with this Rancor. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not Jabba the Hutt. This is clearly a custom of Ziro based on the Power of the Force Jabba, which I have here. There he is. And you can see that they did, honestly, a really good job on this. He's been completely repainted. And not only that, they resculpted some of his facial features. So you can see they added this chin. They've kind of redone his nose a bit. Added all of the tattoos and whatnot. The only thing they didn't really do is try to mimic the jewelry in any way, which is a little bit of a shame. But I was really impressed with this, and I was glad to be able to pick it up for not too expensive. You know, it's kind of an interesting custom that someone did. But the main reason that I wanted to make this video now is that I just got this very cool custom of Ziro from Dark Castle Customs. They're based in Mexico, and I saw recently online that they were posting that they had made a 3D model for 3D printing that they could use to make these figures, and I thought it looked really good, and I talked to them and ordered one up. It took, I think, I don't know, several weeks to arrive. They do have an eBay store, although I got mine directly from them, and I did pay for it. As I say, this is it was made with 3D printing, but it doesn't really look like it at all. You can't tell any 3D printing layer lines that I can really see, which is all the more impressive when you consider that apparently it was made with FDM 3D printing, so filament-based instead of resin. So I'm pretty impressed with that. They must have done some sanding and filling with like filler primer or something like that to get this smooth layers. It does feel kind of light. It's on the light side. A little bit fragile feeling, if I'm honest. But it does have articulation at the torso and the arms. It looks to me, or feels to me, like there's an elastic band going between here. So that's probably how these are connected. But seems to work pretty well. I will say that the way that they've cut the torso here so that he can turn looks a little strange if you turn it very far. So like that, I don't know, looks weird to me. He's sticking way out here, and then you've got this part here too. But, if you just do it a little bit, it looks fine. Looks more or less all right. I'm pretty impressed with the paint job overall. The face, well, I suppose this is both the paint job and the sculpt. The face looks really nice, really like the character. We've got all of these tattoo things and everything. These are sculpted into the model, as are these ones here on the back. And these jewelry pieces here are actually separate pieces you can take off. Maybe I'll glue these on later on. I think maybe you're probably intended to do that. But they look nice, and they look almost like metal, nice and gold colored. We also have this piece of jewelry here on the top with the feathers. I don't know what that's called. That was also a separate piece when it arrived, but I have glued it on because otherwise it just wouldn't stay on. And I imagine that's probably what they intend you to do. Overall, really impressed with this, and I'm glad to finally have a decent figure of Ziro. I will put the information in the video description if you're interested in checking these out. I have no affiliation with them. I'm not really, endorsing them per se, but worked out pretty well for me. So I just thought people might be interested. So yeah, when all is said and done, this is basically the entirety of my Ziro the Hutt collection. And, in terms of the licensed things, we only have these two items right here. I would be interested to know if maybe I've overlooked something. If you know of something that was licensed for Ziro, do let me know in the comments. And if you've ever made your own Ziro custom of some sort, I'd be interested to hear about that as well. I'm not entirely sure why Ziro didn't get more merchandise. It seems weird. Maybe it's just that Ziro as a character was kind of a divisive character. A lot of people, I think, didn't really like him as a concept, and I can understand that, but still, it seems a little strange. I mean, he's a very recognizable design. You'd think that they would have wanted to capitalize on that a little bit, but it didn't happen. Maybe sometime in the future we'll get something more, but I kind of doubt it because I don't see really him playing a large part in, Disney's Star Wars moving forward, probably. So maybe this is all we'll ever get. Well, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. This video is brought to you with the help of my patrons from Patreon, including these Palace VIPs, Angelica Brady and Jesper Murtu. Thanks so much for your support. If you'd like to learn how you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month, you can click the link in the video description.